My name is Juneau, and the day my mother handed me a bus ticket and told me not to come back, I was 18 years old, standing in our driveway with a duffel bag and $37 in my pocket. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just looked at me with that flat, tired expression she'd been wearing my entire childhood and said, "You think you're so much smarter than everyone here. Go prove it." I did. 22 years later, she called me 41 times in a single morning. I need to back up. Growing up, our house was the kind of quiet that felt dangerous. My mother and my father had this unspoken agreement that emotions were weakness, questions were disrespect, and ambition, real ambition, the kind that pointed outward instead of inward, was something to be punished. My older brother was their golden child. He stayed close, took over my father's hardware store when my father's knees gave out, married a girl from the next town over. He was exactly what they wanted. Rooted. Contained. Grateful for the small life they had blueprinted for him. I was not that. I got a full scholarship to study architecture at a school 4 states away. I thought they'd be proud. I still cringe thinking about how much I wanted them to be proud. I sat my mother down at the kitchen table and slid the acceptance letter across to her like it was an offering. She read it, set it down, looked at me. "And who's paying for the rest of it?" she said. I explained the scholarship covered everything. Tuition, housing, a stipend for books. "You'll still need money," she said. "We don't have it." "I know," I said. "I'm not asking you for money." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "If you leave, don't expect to come back." I thought it was an expression. I thought she meant don't expect to come back and be welcomed with a parade. I didn't understand she meant it literally until the following August, when I came home for winter break during my freshman year and found my old bedroom had been converted into a craft room. My things were in garbage bags in the garage. My mother didn't look up from her sewing machine when I walked in. "I thought you weren't coming back," she said. I stayed with my friend's family for the holidays that year. I never tried to go home again. That was the thing about my mother. She didn't need to be loud to be devastating. She just needed to be consistent. I built my life anyway, piece by piece, city by city. I did an internship in Seattle, then a junior position in Denver, then spent 6 years in Boston, working for a firm that specialized in sustainable urban housing. I was good at it. I was really genuinely good at it, and that still surprises me sometimes. How much easier it is to be good at things when nobody is constantly telling you you're not. By the time I was 34, I had my own practice in Chicago. Not huge, 12 people, a beautiful corner office on the 17th floor, a reputation I had spent a decade building. I hadn't spoken to my mother in 11 years. Not because I made some dramatic declaration, just because she never called, and I eventually stopped calling her. I thought about them sometimes, the way you think about a house you used to live in. Not with longing, exactly. More with a kind of distant recognition. That was my life once. It doesn't have to be my life now. Then one Tuesday morning, in October, my phone lit up with 41 missed calls. I was in a client meeting when it started. My assistant, Fern, knocked softly and slid a note across the table to me. It said, "Unknown numbers, keeps calling, and one from your brother." I folded the note and slid it into my jacket pocket and finished the meeting. 45 minutes later, sitting at my desk with a cup of coffee going cold, I scrolled through my call log. 38 calls from a number I didn't recognize. 2 from my brother. 1 from a number saved in my phone as, and I almost didn't remember doing this. Don't answer. My mother. I sat there for a long moment. Outside, the city was doing its normal Tuesday things. A bus exhaled at a stop below. Someone's phone rang in the hallway. Fern walked past my office door with a stack of files and glanced in, and I must have looked strange because she paused. "You okay?" "Fine," I said. "Can you hold my calls for an hour?" I pressed play on my brother's voicemail. His voice was lower than I remembered, heavier. He'd always been the kind of person who smiled with his whole face. Even on the phone, you could usually hear it. There was none of that now. "Hey," he said. "I know it's been a while. I know this is weird. But Mom is. She's asking for you. She's not doing great, Juneau. Dad had a stroke last spring. He's on a feeding tube. Mom's been running everything alone and look, she needs help. Financial help." I told her I'd reach out. "Please call me back." I set the phone down. I did not feel what I expected to feel. I expected grief, or guilt, or that particular stomach drop that comes with bad news about family. What I actually felt was a cold, clear stillness. Like the moment before a building exam when you've already done the work and you know you've done it well. I called my attorney before I called my brother back. This is the part of the story I want to be clear about, because I've heard versions of these stories where the daughter waits too long, reacts emotionally, lets things spiral. I had learned, over 22 years, to think before I move. My attorney's name is Preston. Sharp, careful, exactly the kind of person you want in your corner when things are about to get complicated. I told him everything. The history, the scholarship, the bedroom in garbage bags, the 11 years of silence. Do nothing yet, he said. Just listen. See what they actually want before you respond to anything. I called my brother that evening. He picked up on the first ring. Juneau. He exhaled my name like he'd been holding it. Hey, I said. I kept my voice neutral. I'd gotten good at neutral. We did 3 minutes of careful, stilted small talk. He told me Dad was in a nursing facility. Mom was still in the house, but couldn't keep up with the mortgage on her own. The hardware store had closed 2 years ago, couldn't compete with the big box chains. He'd helped as much as he could, but he had 3 kids now, and a mortgage of his own. She needs about $12,000 to get current on the house, he said. And then probably another 8 or 9 a month to stay afloat. I didn't say anything. I know it's a lot to ask, he said. I told her it was a lot to ask. Did she tell you what she said to me when I left? I asked. Silence. She said don't expect to come back, I said. Then she put my stuff in garbage bags in the garage. I came home for winter break of my freshman year and my room was a craft room. More silence. I know, he finally said, quietly. I know she wasn't easy. I'm not the right person for this, I said. I'm sorry about Dad. I genuinely am. But I'm not the right person. I hung up. I thought that was the end of it. 3 days later, Fern walked into my office with her face, arranged in that careful, professional way that means she has bad news she's trying to deliver diplomatically. She set her phone on my desk. It was a Facebook post from an account I didn't recognize. But the profile pictures was my mother, 20 pounds lighter than I remembered, standing in front of the house I grew up in. My daughter hasn't spoken to us in over a decade. Now her father is dying, and she won't even return our calls. We gave her everything. We sacrificed everything. She's too busy with her fancy Chicago life to remember where she came from. I'm sharing this because I have nowhere else to turn. Below it, another post from the same morning. She calls herself an architect now. Everything she is, we made possible. And she turned her back on us when we needed her most. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. Some children are just selfish. Money changes people. So sad. Prayers for your family. There were screenshots of the posts being shared to a local Chicago community group. Someone had tagged my firm's page. I read it twice. Then I picked up my phone and called Preston. They've started, I said. I see it, he said. He'd already been monitoring. Here's what we do. That same afternoon, Preston sent a cease and desist to my mother's address. Not aggressive. Clinical. Clear. It outlined the defamatory nature of the posts, cited the specific claims, and requested they be removed within 48 hours, or we would pursue legal action. It also, very quietly, documented our position. That I had been effectively estranged by my parents' own actions, that I had received no financial or emotional support from them during my adult life, and that I owed them nothing. My mother did not take the posts down. She escalated. The next one was longer. She included a photograph, my college graduation photo, which I'd sent as a card because I thought at the time that maybe gestures still mattered. She'd kept it all these years, apparently, and now she posted it with a caption that made my stomach turn. This is the day she graduated. We couldn't even afford to go. And now she's worth millions, apparently, and we can't pay the electric bill. Worth millions. I almost laughed. I had a good practice and a solid savings account, and I worked 60-hour weeks to keep it that way. The comments on that one were worse. Someone found my firm's website. 1-star reviews started appearing. Not many, but enough. Heard the owner abandoned her dying parents. Wouldn't trust someone with no family values to design my home. Cold and heartless. It shows in her work. Fern handled it quietly and professionally, flagging the reviews and responding to client inquiries that came in about it. My team was steady, but I could feel it. The slow, grinding pressure of it. The way you feel a storm before you see it. I called my brother again. "Did you know she was going to do this?" I asked. He was quiet for a moment too long. "I told her not to," he said. "But you knew." Another pause. "She's desperate, Juneau. She's scared." "I understand that," I said. "I'm still not responsible for it. And if she doesn't take those posts down, I'm going to have to respond publicly." "I don't want to, but I will." He didn't say anything. "Tell her to stop," I said. "Please." She didn't stop. 2 weeks after the first post, I got a call from one of my longest-standing clients, a nonprofit that had trusted me with 3 projects over 8 years, someone whose opinion I genuinely valued. She was careful and kind about it, the way good people are when they have to say hard things. "I've been getting emails," she said, "forwarded to me from, I don't even know, community listservs, something. They're saying you've been involved in financial misconduct within your family, that you took money from your parents when they were struggling and refused to pay it back." She paused. "I don't believe it, but I wanted to tell you because I think you should know." I thanked her. I ended the call. I sat very still at my desk for about 30 seconds. Then I opened my laptop and I started writing. I didn't consult a PR firm. I didn't draft it with Preston, though I ran it by him before I posted. I just wrote the truth. My truth, in my words, the way I actually remember it happening. My name is Juneau Aldridge. I'm an architect in Chicago. For the past 3 weeks, my estranged mother has been posting about me on social media, claiming I've abandoned my family and turned my back on parents who sacrificed everything for me. I want to tell you what actually happened. When I was 18, I received a full scholarship to study architecture. I asked nothing from my parents. No money, no support, just their blessing. What I received instead was my mother telling me not to come back. When I came home for winter break that year, my bedroom had been converted. My belongings were in garbage bags. I built my career without their help. I'm proud of that. I worked 3 jobs through college, took every internship I could, and spent 15 years earning the reputation I have today. My parents are struggling. I am genuinely sorry about my father's health. But I have no obligation to fund the choices of people who told me at 18 that I was on my own, and meant it. I'm posting this because strangers have been contacting my clients with false claims about financial misconduct. These claims are fabricated. My attorney has documented everything. If you've received one of these emails, please know it is not true. I am not heartless. I am just someone who believed her mother when she said goodbye. I posted it that night. By morning, it had over 4,000 shares. The comments were not what I expected. I had steeled myself for more of the same. More accusations. More "you should be ashamed of yourself." What I got instead was something that made me sit at my kitchen table and cry in a way I hadn't cried in years. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming strangeness of being seen. I left my parents at 23. I know exactly what this feels like. The garbage bags detail. My God. That's not a woman who wanted her daughter back. She kept your graduation photo for 20 years and then weaponized it. That says everything. You believed her when she said goodbye. I'm going to be thinking about that sentence all week. The tide turned fast. The 1-star reviews on my firm disappeared under a flood of 5-star ones from people who had heard the story and wanted to show up. My clients reached out, one after another, with the same basic message: "We're with you." The anonymous emails stopped. My mother posted twice more after that. Both times, the comments were no longer sympathetic to her. People started asking uncomfortable questions. If she was so neglected and struggling, how did her daughter get a full scholarship? Why would a devoted mother convert her daughter's room while she was at college? Where was she when her daughter spent winter break somewhere else? She deleted both posts within 24 hours. Then her attorney called Preston. This part is almost funny, in retrospect. The attorney, retained somehow, on what money I still don't fully understand, cited filial responsibility laws in our home state. He suggested I had a legal obligation to contribute to my parents' care and that my failure to do so could be grounds for a civil suit. Preston didn't blink. "Illinois doesn't have filial responsibility statutes," he said. and neither does their home state in any form that would apply here. If they'd like to pursue this, we're prepared to counter with documentation of the defamation campaign they've conducted for the past month. I'd encourage your client to think carefully. We heard nothing more from me on a Sunday morning, about 6 weeks after all of this started. I almost didn't pick up. Then I thought, one more time. Give it one more time. I owe you an apology, he said, before I could say anything. I was quiet. I knew she was going to post those things, he said. I didn't stop her. I don't know what I thought. I thought maybe if enough people pressured you, you'd just write a check and it would all go away. He let out a long breath. I read what you posted. About coming home for winter break. About the garbage bags. Yeah, I said. I didn't know she did that, he said. I was away at state by then. I didn't know. I believed him. That's the thing about families like ours. The damage is so compartmentalized that sometimes people in the same house are all living completely different experiences without ever comparing notes. I'm not asking you to help them, he said. I'm not asking you for anything. I'm sorry. I should have stayed out of it, or I should have told her to stop. I did neither. Okay, I said. I meant it. It was an absolution, and it wasn't a reunion, but it was something true, offered without strings attached, and after everything that had happened, that counted for a lot. We talked for another 20 minutes. He told me about his kids. I told him about a project I was working on, an affordable housing development in the South Side that I was stupidly proud of. He laughed at something I said, really laughed, surprised out of it, and for a moment I could almost remember what it had been like when we were children, before the house got so quiet and dangerous. Before we both learned to make ourselves small. It's not a fairy tale. He and I don't talk regularly. We text sometimes. He came to Chicago for a work conference in the spring, and we had dinner. A real dinner. 2.5 hours at a restaurant I love, splitting a bottle of wine, and being careful with each other in a way that might eventually become less careful if we keep at it long enough. My mother did not call again after the attorney conversation. I don't know exactly what her life looks like now. I know the house is still hers. Some arrangement was made about the mortgage, though not with my money. I know my father is still in the care facility. I know she's still in the town she's always been in, living the life she always chose. I don't wish her harm. I've spent years examining that, checking it the way you check a structural calculation, running the numbers, looking for the place where the load doesn't balance. And every time, I come back to the same conclusion. I don't wish her harm. I just don't wish her anything. She made herself a stranger to me a long time ago, and I have finally, actually, accepted that. There is a woman named Dorothea, who was my college roommate's mother and who took me home for the holidays that first winter. I had nowhere to go. She made pierogies and asked me questions about my courses and stayed up until midnight watching old movies with me on their couch. She has come to every significant event in my adult life. She cried at my firm's opening. She sends birthday cards without fail. She is, in every way that matters, my family. I called her the night I published my post. She already knew. She'd seen it, shared it, called it the bravest thing I've ever seen a young woman do, which made me laugh because I was 34 and hardly young, but that's how she is. Come for Thanksgiving, she said. I'll bring the wine, I said. You'll bring the wine and your good self, and that's all I need. I stood at my office window a long time after I hung up, looking out over the city. Chicago in October is specific. The light has this particular angle, low and amber, and it hits the glass buildings and makes them look like something you'd try to draw but couldn't quite capture. I've tried anyway over the years. There are sketches in my notebooks of this skyline from this window at this time of day. I have never been able to get it exactly right, and I think that's probably okay. Some things are just for living in. I went back to my desk. I had work to do. Deadlines, client calls, a set of plans that needed revising, the kind of ordinary, demanding, satisfying work that I had built a life around, the kind of work nobody handed me, the kind of work I chose. I deleted my mother's number from my phone that night, not in anger, not with any particular ceremony, just quietly, deliberately, the way you finish unpacking the last box and finally feel like a space is actually yours. I went to bed and slept 8 hours, which is something I have never done easily. And when I woke up, the city was just starting to go gray at the edges with morning. And I lay there for a few minutes listening to it the way you listen to something you love, just to make sure it's still there. It was. I got up, made coffee, and went to work. Before I go, I want to say something. Because I've heard from a lot of people since I posted that night. More than I expected, honestly. More than I know how to answer individually, though I'm trying. I know what it's like to carry the weight of who you were supposed to be, according to people who never really knew you. I know what it's like to choose yourself and then spend years wondering if that choice made you a bad person. Here's what I figured out, slowly, across 22 years. Choosing yourself is not the same as choosing against someone else. I didn't leave to punish my mother. I left because staying would have cost me everything I was. The people who truly love you will not ask you to pay for it with your own life. That's the whole thing. That's the entire lesson. It doesn't get shorter or neater than that, as much as I wish it did. If you've ever been told that love means you don't get to have limits, let me be very clear. That's not love. That's a contract they wrote without your signature. You are allowed to tear it up. Drop a 1 in the comments if any part of this landed. And if you've been through something similar, family, partners, anyone who made you feel like your needs were always the last thing on the list. I'd genuinely love to hear your story below. I read them. All of them. Until it's time, choose yourself. Always.